All right, good afternoon, students. This is 6.4, Congruent Polygons. We've had these vocabulary words before, so that is nothing new. We're going to just touch base on a little of them, or a few of them, and then we're going to jump right into the example problems, because I think that's where the majority of you would have most of your questions. All right. How do I classify polygons as being congruent? Remember, the word congruent means the exact same shape. And when I'm talking about polygons, in order to determine if they're the same shape, I need to make sure that they have the same sides or side lengths and angles. They need to have congruent sides and congruent angles. So the side lengths need to be the same and the angle measures need to be the same, and that would give us congruent polygons. So let's look at two examples here. The one thing that we were talking about is the fact that you cannot just use your eyes. Using your eyes will be deceiving. You have to look at the data that's in front of you. Look at the hash marks, look at the marks for each angle, and determine based on that what is and is not congruent. When I look at this, I notice side AB. AB has one hash mark. A has no angle measurements, B has one. So I'm going to come over here to this one hash mark where there's no angle measurement and go to 1. That is ZX. I can tell that side AB is congruent to side ZX. It is very important to put it in the same order. A did not have an angle sign, B did. No angle to one angle, no angle to one angle. A to B, Z to X. Make sure they go in the same order. So I have found that one side is congruent. So let's try another one. A to C. Whoops, sorry, that wasn't straight. A to C. No angle to a right angle with 3 hash marks. Here's 3 hash marks. No angle to a right angle is Z, Y. So I know that side AC is congruent to side ZY. So far, so good. Remember, all sides and all angles have to be congruent. I have 2 down. Let's try the last one. CB. Side CB goes from a right angle to a single marking. One angle to a single marking. Both have 2 hash marks. Is congruent to YX. Now, do you have to have them in this exact order? No. You might have BA is congruent to XZ, and that's fine as long as they're in the same order of their corresponding parts. You know, the same orders when you write them, but they can be switched as long as both of them are switched. All right, so we have proved that these are congruent based on their sides, but we still have to prove it based on their angles. So I'm going to look at this angle here first, angle C. Angle C, is it congruent to an angle? Yes, it is congruent to angle Y. They are both right angles. That one was pretty easy. Let's try another one. Angle B has 1 marking. Angle X has 1 marking. So angle B is congruent to angle X. All right. And last but not least, the final angle that we have, I've run out of fun colors, so I'll have to go with the boring one. Angle A does not have any markings, and neither does angle Z. So angle A is congruent to angle Z. In your book, when you're working on your homework, it's going to ask you to determine if 2 shapes are congruent and to list all of the corresponding parts. To do that, you have to list all of the sides, 1, 2, 3, and all of the angles, 1, 2, 3. In this case, there were 6 separate parts that I would need to list. If it was a quadrilateral, there would be 8, 4 angles and 4 sides. Pentagon, 10, 5 angles, 5 sides. Don't mess up on that. Don't miss out on an angle or a side. Don't become lazy. Make sure you complete them all. All right. Another part that we're going to have to look at is we're going to be told that they're congruent. We're told that this is equal to that they have the same measured degrees, angles, and they have the same measurement in sides. The key again is to make sure you follow the correct order. This says to start at R, go to S, end at T. Start at R, go to S. That's the first one I did. And then end at T. That's the second one I did. This one says start at U, go to V, end at W. Start at U, go to V, then end at W. I like to think about it as this is the first one I did, this is the first one I did, this is the second one I did, this is the second one I did. Now, I know that this side, side RS, is congruent to side UV. Now, I don't have to list all of the congruences here. I just wanted to show you that this is what I know. Based on what it told me, that's what I know. I also know that this side here, ST, is congruent to VW, and WU is congruent to TR. I need to find the value of Y, and I see Y right here. It's part of this angle. It's part of angle V, where the purple and the red come together. So what corresponds to that on this triangle is angle S, where the 60 is. These two are equal to each other because of this word congruent. I know that this angle equals this angle. It's easy to say it, but watch how I write it. This angle, angle S, equals this angle, angle V. Once I have that, I have to solve it. I know I keep pestering you about these railroad tracks, but I am not kidding. They will never go away. So now I added the 20 to both sides to get rid of this. Leaves me with an 80 over here. Then I need to divide both sides by 2. And I get 40 equals Y. Now, I had kids in class say this, so I'm going to bring it up in case you're thinking it at home. Miss Bednar, if these are congruent, they have to be the exact same. So how can you say that this angle here is 40? Be careful. We're not saying that the angle is 40. We're saying that this little Y right here equals 40. If I plug that 40 in to solve it, 40 times 2 would be 80. 80 minus 20 would be 60, and then they would be equivalent. They would be congruent. So just make sure you're answering the questions that are being asked. All right, another example. In triangle DEF, so it tells me to start at D and go to E. This is the first place it tells me to go, D to E. From there, it tells me to move on to F. Move on to F. I really wish I could draw a straight line. That is the same. Now, this one says it's congruent to, so it's the same as LMN. Start at L. Go to M. That's the first place I went. Then down to N. That's the second place I went. I put those hash marks in there just to show that this is the order that they told me to go. Now it tells me to find the length of MN. M to N has 2 hash marks. What over here has 2 hash marks? What is in the same order? The E, F, which is 7. So this would be 7 feet. I know. It doesn't look right, Miss Bednar. There's no way that can possibly be. So if I do my best to trace this as perfectly as possible, I'm going to remove this image. You saw me trace it. I'm going to move this image over here. And I'm going to, I forgot to do one thing. Sorry, I'm going to move the image back. And I am going to put in this 1 hash mark, and now it's not going to count it, I bet. And these 2 hash marks. Might have to group it over here. Whoops, wrong one. Okay, we're just going to have to group it here really quick. I think it missed. Nope, I got it. Okay, so now it's grouped. And now that was this image, so I'm going to flip it. Or did I flip it the wrong way? I think I flipped it the wrong way. There we go. So I flipped it, and look at that. Whoop, I still flipped it the wrong way. There. I should have just started where I was. Oh, well, it's still not working. So this is one of those deceiving ones where we have to watch our eyes. We want it to be the other way. Our eyes were telling us that this isn't right. And our eyes were telling us that it should be this way. However, we have to believe what the directions are telling us. And the directions were telling us that D, E, F is L, M, N. So we have to follow the same order that they give us. So the answer would still be 7. Follow the order here. A, F, H. A, F, H. A to F is the first place I went. Down to H is the second. Q, R, N. Q to R is the first. To N is the second. They're telling me these are congruent, so they're telling me they're the exact same. Find the measure of angle Q. Q is on a line that has no marks, so it would be on this line. I know that A starts and Q starts, so A and Q are congruent. So A is 40, therefore Q must be 40, because they start in the same position. So that one was relatively easy. Not a whole lot of work to do there. All right, in a problem like this, they give us this information and we have 3 problems we need to solve. This is not multiple choice. It is 3 problems that we need to solve. Again, we're going to follow the order. A to B first. So this is the first side I see. Then to C. That's the second side I see. Then to D. Here's the third. Over would be the last. Then I follow this one. This one says start at W, so I'm at W, and go to X. That's the first one. Go to Y. That's the second. Go to Z. That's the third. Here's my final. There's my fourth. Now let's match some things up. I know that the length of 1 is a 3. Length of 1 is a 3 meters. Length of 2 is a 4 meters. Length of 2 is a 4 meters. I know that angle A is 70 degrees, and that angle A is the same as angle W because it's in between the 1 and the 4, so I know this is 70. I know that B is in between the A and the C, which is congruent to this X, or corresponding to the X, so it's 145, and that Z is congruent to D, and so it must be 90. So let's go back over here and see what our questions are. Question 1, find the measure of angle X. Angle X is 145 degrees. Find the length of YX. YX, 4 meters. And find the measurement of angle Y. Oh, bummer. There's nothing here. There's got to be a way to figure this out. The frustrating part for many students about math is once they've passed a concept, they think they're done with it, but they're not. We have to go back to what we learned the last lesson. N minus 2 times 180. Because when we know this, we're able to answer that. The number of sides this has is 4. 4 minus 2 times 180. 4 minus 2 is 2. And this is 360. Again, what does this mean? This means that inside here there are 360 degrees total. Well, I know I have 145. I know that I have 70. And I know that I have 90. I know when I add all of these up, I'm going to get 305 degrees. This plus this plus this is 305. From this formula, I know there should be 360. So what does this need to be for it to equal 360? Well, I can take 360 and subtract my 305, and I'll get 55 degrees. That is the way to solve this problem. If you need any additional help, please make sure to stop in and ask anybody, ask your math teacher, ask for some help, and good luck on your assignment.